What are your expectations for today's conference?
My expectations are learning about new things. It's a topic that I didn't hear much about before. And also, of course, meeting people who are in this topic, who are occupied by these things.
What have been your personal experiences with violence, either in your personal life or in your professional life till today?
I didn't have bad experiences with violence until now, but of course, for example, in public life, at school, when you are just in the street, you always see scenes when you think this might be quite critical. There is violence, and it isn't good, a really good feeling then.
I hope that I will become a better understanding about our violence and that I will learn a lot of things and that I can improve my own understandings about this task. Luckily, I was not involved in a lot of violent situations. I was once at a football game where there were a lot of quarrels, but that is the only one. I was really looking forward to this conference in general, in the whole. Yeah.
I confess I came with very little expectations. I came with the expectation to learn to ask the right questions. In my personal life, I had the experience of growing up with 3 brothers. So there was quite a lot of tangible, physical meeting there. And all of these 3 later went on not to go to military service, but civil service instead.
Because the topic is very interesting for me, because I'm a national consular, and at the same time I work by the FIFA, and I have as a security officer also the interest that I can hear more about the forces, the violence, and I hope that we have some measures of solutions. In the private life I don't have experience, but in the professional life I read it a lot, and I was also in charge about violence in the football state. And that's my experience about the violence.
Mr. Dell'Ambrogio, what are your expectations for this year's Accademia Engelberg conference?
It's always interesting to have young students and expert researchers together, exchanging opinions and their way to look at actual problems. And I hope that will be an enrichment for both sides. I was chief of police for 8 years, some time ago, and I had the possibility to look at the different challenges and the different way to manage these problems from the side of the victims, from the side of the actors, and from the side of the reaction of the societies, and how it's difficult to keep the balance between reaction and long-term policy.
Ich erwarte, dass wir das Problem der Violence vertiefen können. Es ist ein Problem, das so alt ist wie die Menschheit. Wir wissen nicht, wie wir damit umgehen können. Es sind Faktoren der Umwelt, Faktoren der Vererbung. Ich erwarte auch, dass man neurobiologische Erkenntnisse vielleicht einbringen kann. Es ist wieder eine wunderbare Zusammenkunft vieler Menschen, vieler Spezialisten. Und ich denke, dass der Dialog uns wieder weiterhelfen kann. Ich freue mich natürlich auf alle Referenten, ich freue mich natürlich auch auf die Jugendlichen, auf die Studenten, die sich da vorbereitet haben, die auch das ihrige einbringen werden.
I really hope that this year we can tackle some of the main issues regarding violence, but also from a propositive perspective, so that we can take a look at what has been done regarding how to tackle violence and what can be done together as a group of intellectuals who are concerned about this phenomenon. As a Colombian, sadly I have been exposed to violence my entire life, but as a professional I've also been a peace worker for over 15 years now. And working for peace in Colombia has taught me to be humble about the expectations that one can have about violence, but also to be dreamy, to be hopeful, to be creative about it, and to be propositive. So therefore I expect us to follow the same pattern in the conference.
I expected to address the issue of violence in human society, and actually this issue is very important because it's very related to sustainable development. And in my country, where I come from, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, actually one of the major challenges that we have is the regional conflict. We suffer, the war in Iraq, and I originally come from Jerusalem. And it has been occupied by the Israeli occupation for 50 years now. And in order to reach sustainable development, we have to reach peace first. And I'm expecting this conference to come out with some certain recommendations, concrete recommendations to provide the peace process with important outcomes to end this violence.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, my expectation is that I will learn something maybe about the psychology behind violence as it manifests itself nowadays, because I really don't understand, and I'm not involved, so to say, because I have not too much contact anymore with young persons, for instance. And the question of terrorism is another one. Also, I'm not every day confronted with it, so I would like to understand a little bit what is behind, because it's to some extent frightening, even in daily appearance. I had very little confrontation with violence, I must say, so I was lucky maybe. Also in foreign countries where I've been walking around, even in big cities like New York, places like that, I was lucky not to be directly confronted with. Although in some places one feels sometimes a little bit uneasy, but fortunately enough I was not directly confronted with it, personally.
Das Thema, das ist äußerst wichtig und brisant in der heutigen Zeit. Und ich denke, dass die Akademie nicht eine Superlösung finden wird, sondern es wird sehr, sehr wichtig sein, grundlegend darüber zu diskutieren und nach Möglichkeiten zu suchen, dass mehr Vertrauen die Gewaltausbrüche und Gewalttätigkeit eindämmt. Glücklicherweise bin ich als Klostervorsteher und auch als Chef einer Schule, eines Gymnasiums nicht so sehr mit diesen Konflikten konfrontiert. Wir leben hier noch so in einer Art heilen Welt.
It's an unusual topic for a conference that attempts to join science and the larger public. And I expect to get new insights personally and hope that other people will profit about new insights concerning violence. Actually, I personally have never been the victim of violence or nothing to speak of, and I have not even witnessed violence. So I only know about it second and third hand, but I'm convinced that it's an extremely important topic in the human history and its future.
Ich wünsche mir neue Inputs zum Thema Gewalt. Ich unterrichte selber im Thema Gewalt, speziell zu häuslicher Gewalt, aber auch Gewalt überhaupt. Und ich wünsche mir neue Inputs, neue theoretische Ansätze, Vernetzung auch mit den Leuten, die hier sind. Ja, und 2 spannende Tage oder 2,5 spannende Tage. Ich bin sehr gespannt auf Herrn Küchenhoff. Wir verwenden ihn, oder besser gesagt seine Publikationen immer wieder in unserem Unterricht. Ich bin gespannt, was er heute, oder vielleicht kommt er morgen, ich weiß gar nicht mehr genau, morgen berichten wird. Und ich bin auch sehr gespannt auf diese ganzen neurobiologischen Ansätze, die neuen Entwicklungen da.